U.S., you don't typically have that around the world. Around the world, you have the acquirer and you have the issuer, and they're doing the settlement in between without really having a processor. If there's a processor, it's just a company that's outsourced, a third party that's outsourced to provide the computing power.
Okay, perfect. I think we can move to the online flow, starting from the gateway and seeing all the steps.
Yeah. So in the online flow, it's similar in the sense that you have the merchant, and that merchant is an online merchant. So typically, an online merchant deals with an online PSP provider. In the U.S., there are hundreds of them. It's an extremely fragmented market that provide online PSP services. In Europe, Ingenico, for example, has Ogone. Ogone is an e-commerce. So Ogone provides software. Instead of providing a POS, they provide a software interface so that a merchant website can use that software interface or what we call a payment page. They provide the payment page so that when you're a consumer and you're buying on a website and it's time for payment, you get a payment page. That payment page is provided by it could be an acquirer, it could be a PSP. It depends on the type of business that you are, the type of service that you need, the type of risk that you present, who will deal with you and who will not. The big thing to consider in card not present is risk. And that's, risk becomes a factor 100 times more significant in the card not present space than in the card present space. So from there, the transaction goes into the normal rails. It'll go into an acquirer. It gets processed by the gets sent to an issuer for authorization. It comes back. So the only real difference in the value chain is the who is providing the service directly to the merchant. And instead of providing a physical device, you're providing a payment page.
That's what's called a gateway, right?
It's not necessarily a gateway. It could be a gateway, but it's not necessarily a gateway.
Okay, so what does a gateway provider do then in the context of an online transaction?
So in the case of an online transaction, gateways are primarily there to offer the omni-channel service. And that is, they can receive transactions from both the physical world and they can receive transactions from the e-commerce world. And they're able to blend those transactions so that to a consumer, it's transparent whether you're buying at a physical store or whether you're buying at online. You can buy online and you can buy online and you can return the item at a physical store. So they're just ways to merge all of the transactions for a large merchant who wants to have all that information consolidated instead of having to go through two different systems to look at their transactions.
The gateway is a piece of software that sits somewhere in the background that just takes data from all these transactions and then merges them together to get a holistic view. Is that what it is?
That's correct.
Okay.
Gateways are also very specialized. So in the U.S. has many gateways, and there are gateways that are specialized in in the U.S. I'll give you an example. There's a company called Freedom Pay. Freedom Pay is very focused on large venues like sports stadiums. They're also focused on parking. When you park your car and you have to pay for the parking. They're focused on food distribution. That's their specialty. You have another company called Shift4. Shift4 is very focused on hotels. Elevon has their own gateway called, I forgot the name of their gateway. Their gateway is used very specifically by the very large hotel chains like Starwood, Marriott, Westin. They use those. So gateways in the U.S. have become very prevalent because they offer that very specialized service to these niche markets. And I'm sure the same is happening in Europe.
we just quickly summarize then the online space, basically you have the same players not the same players, the same type of guys from acquiring, processing. You have the obviously the card network and the issuer, but then what you need in addition is a PSP that can help you taking the online do this page basically for the online to redirect the transaction to an acquirer and then onto the network.
That's correct. And here's where you have to be a little bit careful. So while First Data, as we're talking, is not really a PSP, usually in the online space, the acquirer that's providing the service, and there are some of them that are very good, I don't name them, Worldline, Adyen, Global Collect, WorldPay. These companies not only are the acquirer, but they're also the PSP. So they're able to provide PSP services directly to these merchants.
Yeah, so they cover the full initial part of the chain. They interact directly with the merchant, and they're also their acquirer, basically.
That's correct.
That's valid for, I suspect, Adyen. It's valid for Worldline. You mentioned WorldPay as well. I didn't know WorldPay is also strong in the online e-commerce space.
Yeah, that was WorldPay was primarily a cross-border acquiring company, the same way that Global Collect was a cross-border acquiring company. So they're very similar operations. They had some countries where they were operating with terminals, but their card present operation was very small. Their very large operation was cross-border e-commerce acquiring.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe why don't you then we can, actually before going back, I just want to make sure I understand where are Ingenico assets sitting within this chain and what are they actually doing, and then maybe we can cover the business model of each of the players in the stream. For example,
so Ingenico's assets that they have for the e-commerce space today are EasyCash was their first acquisition into that space. Then they acquired Ogone. Ogone is a PSP based in Belgium.
When we say PSP, what services are they providing?
So Ogone provides payment pages to small merchants. So they deal directly and they're able to customize payment solutions for small online merchants. So they don't deal with the large retail chains, but they deal with the small mom and pop stores that want to go to do online commerce, and they offer them customized payment solutions.
Okay.
Ogone is not an acquirer, by the way. So Ogone is just they're a PSP, but they do not have acquiring capabilities. Of course, they form part of Global Collect, and Global Collect does have acquiring capabilities. So if you look at Ogone standalone, they're not an acquirer, but coupled together with Global Collect, they are an acquirer. Then they acquired Global Collect. So Global Collect gave them a large cross-border e-commerce footprint across the U.S. And then their last two acquisitions have been PayOne and Bambora. And PayOne and Bambora are full acquiring PSPs. They have acquiring licenses. They function as PSPs, and they service both parts.
Just 1 second back to Global Collect. So Global Collect, we talked a little bit about, cross-border acquirers. So basically they are both a PSP and a cross-border acquirer because they have acquiring capabilities, right?
Yeah.
And they generally...
let me get into Global Collect a little bit because Global Collect is very, they're operating in a very specific way. So Global Collect has a full acquiring license. Today, Ingenico does not use Global Collect as an acquirer. They use them as a cross-border PSP, and they ultimately route